And you said when you were speaking at the AGM that you've taken some punches in the nose in the Champions League. How do you make sure that gets turned into a positive and a learning experience in the domestic games that will now follow?
Well, yeah, I mean, to continue that analogy, I don't think we got knocked out. So, I still think we're clear-headed. We understand that, like I said, for us it was about, there's no surprise in the level we faced and knowing we need to improve, but as an exercise in testing ourselves and measuring ourselves, we did that. And, I think the players understand, the sort of levels required, and it's up to me now and kind of us as a collective to chip away at that gap, so that, when we're in it again, and, our job is to try and get in there again next year, is to be that little bit closer.
I'm not sure you did an extra incentive to win a league, but having been there, do you think it gives the players that thirst to go and get there again when you go into the Romanian domestic fixture?
Yeah, no, I think that's where the difference lies, is that you shouldn't need extra incentive. The whole idea of it is that you've been exposed to that level now, so you know what's required, so there's no, that should be your measure from now on. So, you've got to take that sort of mentality into your domestic competition, and if you do that, then I think, you give yourself a chance to be successful domestically, but also, you've used the time in between, because there's no point going through what we did next year and then trying to address it in 12 months' time if we're qualified again, because you've wasted 12 months of, developing those areas, both as a club and also as players, individuals. So, the idea is that we take the learnings from the Champions League and put them into the Premiership and the Cup competitions and try and raise our level of football, so that, that gives us the opportunity to be successful again domestically, but then to have already put 12 months of work into having more of an impact the next time we're in the Champions League.
Do you get the feeling the players are better for the experience already, or is that just something that takes a bit more time?
Well, I mean, look, I think that with that time we'll tell with the way the players sort of embrace that sort of challenge, but I've seen them grow through the games, and even though the results don't sort of reflect that, the way they've taken on the responsibility, the way they've continually tried to, play our football and knowing that we've still got a way to go to get to that level. I've already seen growth in them. I think I've seen, you've seen that in the domestic league as well, because our performances there have been excellent, and the amount of goals we're scoring and the amount of chances we're creating, I think, is because we're taking, lessons learned through the Champions League into our domestic game.
As you said in the video presentation, I think at the AGM, that to establish Celtic as a competitive team in the Champions League, the club would have to be agile and aggressive in the transfer market. Could you just outline the specifics of what that means and whether you'll see that agility and aggression in the forthcoming transfer window?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you've seen it already. I think you just cast your mind back to sort of the winter window last year, where we brought in Hatate, Maeda, Deguchi and O'Reilly. We were really aggressive, even though we were in a decent position in the league and going okay at that point. And we've done that in the last window as well, and that's just my belief that if we're going to make sort of those strides, I don't think you can sort of quicken the process, but you can certainly accelerate, our ability to bridge the gap, whether that's financially or on the field, by, being really aggressive and agile in the transfer market, meaning that we've got to take opportunities when they come along, and also maybe even before they come along, preempt things so that we're ready and able to capitalise on things. So, like I said in the AGM, that can be a little bit unsettling, because it may mean that we have a high turnover of players, not because of we want people to leave. I mean, it's if players are happy here and they're performing, absolutely, you keep them. But if it means that players do well and want to move on to greener pastures, we've got to be ready, willing and able to facilitate that and make sure that we replenish that with something that's going to take us further down the road.
I think you also said a couple more transfer windows you've been good. You've been in good shape. How far do you plan ahead?
Yeah, look, I think, initially it was very short term. Fair to say, 12 months ago, my first transfer window was just about, let's get a team together, because we kind of didn't have the numbers, let alone the kind of nucleus of a squad that I felt, was going to be enough to get us where we wanted to. So, a lot of our signings were about, well, we need to put a team together here, and that's the kind of main focus. I mean, I think as a football club, we're always going to be sort of targeting a certain demographic, particularly from an age profile, wise. But, from my perspective now, it's, well, I think you've got to look at least a couple of windows ahead every time, try and project potential outgoings, potential areas you're going to need improvement in. And my feeling with that is that if you can do that before it happens, you're just better placed to make better decisions, rather than waiting for that moment and then trying to sort of, I think that's what we were left with when I first started, was that it was quite obvious that that group of players and that nucleus of the team that had brought so much success had come to an end of a cycle, and there was a lot of outgoings, and we weren't ready for that. If we were, we would have sort of preempted it, and there was reasons for that. But from my perspective, I'm always looking sort of at least a couple of windows ahead to see how can we be better. When these things happen.
Has the exposure of the Champions League shown you what it takes to get to that level altered any plans for this January window?
No, not really. We were always planning, like I said, to be, again, proactive and agile in this window, and no, that hasn't really changed. I mean, for me, there was no surprises about, the Champions League experience. I was under no illusions it was going to be tough. From our perspective, it was about exposing our players to it, because it's one thing me saying it's going to be tough, but our players needed to go through it, and you need to see how they cope with that and how they grow through that. And like I said, I have seen growth in the players with that. I don't think they've lost any of their sort of determination to perform at that level, which is important. I don't think they've lost belief. If anything, it's encouraged them. But I always knew January was still going to be another important window for us, because we're still building. Like I said, we're sort of 18 months into building a football team, and if what I'm sort of envisaging comes to fruition over the next sort of 12 to 18 months, we should constantly be in a 2 or 3 year cycle of regenerating the team.
Does this World Cup break help, hinder a manager who's trying to mould the team? Does that help at all?
Look, I don't know. I don't think, look, my gut tells me this World Cup's going to be tough for all managers, all clubs around the world. I think you're already seeing it. I mean, I feel there's so many players who are now just getting injuries right up until the eve of a World Cup, and you think, well, for a lot of players, a World Cup is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and when it's in the off-season, or, even if they get a little niggle, it's 1 or 2 weeks, they've got time to recover before a World Cup. Now, literally up until next weekend, if a player could be out for 2-3 weeks and they miss a World Cup. So I think it's going to be challenging. And then you think about potential, injuries, or even the fatigue factor coming out of a World Cup. I think it's going to be a challenge for everyone. But from our perspective, again, we've factored that into it. We're not going to have too much of an impact on our squad. We're probably going to have 3 or 4 there, but the rest will be under our charge, which will help us sort of prepare for the second half of the year.
Talk about that built generation of the team. How important is it to sell players at the right time for that to be successful?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's got to be that when I talk about being agile, that we've got to really be open-minded about these things, and always without putting pressure on individuals or us forcing people out. I think there's a natural evolution of these things where the timing is right, and I think if the timing is right, if we've done our sort of planning correctly, we won't be in fear of letting someone go, because we've already planned for that, and I think that has to happen. Again, if you look at all the clubs our size who have done well at Champions League level, by done well I mean make an impact, obviously not necessarily winning the competition. All of them have some constants in that they're always in the Champions League, and they've always got an aggressive trading model. That's how you make up ground. And for us to be that sort of football club, we have to be the same.
and on the pitch, 3 games to go into the World Cup break.
Yeah.
The short-term aim is to show that the high level for those next 3 matches to see you off into that break.
As we have been, yeah. As we have been in recent, since the start of the season. I mean, we obviously had the disappointing results at Mirren, but our performances aside from that have been really strong, and we just need to continue that till the break. As you said, 3 important games, 2 of them at home. I mean, we've only had 5 home games so far out of the 12, so it goes to show you that, you know, we know in this competition it's hard to win games of football away from home, and if you're going to slip up, there's always a danger of that. So we've navigated that pretty well. So out of those 3, 2 are at home, and we want to finish strong and continue our form, and then sort of regroup and get ready for the second half of the year.
It's obviously an emphatic victory last time out against Dundee United. Just how different do you feel this game will be? They've obviously had a lot of change since then.
Yeah, they have. And look, that day was a little bit, you know, unusual in that, you know, we just hit a real sort of golden streak of, you know, creating opportunities and scoring goals. We've had games where we've probably created more chances than we did that day. Quite a few this year, and we just haven't capitalised. That day just all fell for us, and you have those kind of days. So I've got no doubt, as you said, they've had a bit of change since then, and they're going to come out here and make it tough for us, tomorrow, and we've got to be ready for it. But as I said, our form's been really strong, and if we continue with that form, then we know we're going to be hard to stop.
I'm just going to take it back to you said about the player embracing the way you want to play in the Champions League. Did that even exceed your expectations? Because if you look at Wednesday night, 5-0 down and a bit about, but they're still going forward.
Yeah.
Pushing for a goal, get a goal.
Yeah, look, you don't know, and you know, it's one of those things again. You'll never know unless you kind of send them out that way. I'm kind of hoping that they understand that there's a level of trust and security around that I won't expose them and sort of, you know, sell them out if you know, we have a night like we did the other night where we conceded 5 goals. You know, I love the spirit they've shown. I love the way they've embraced the challenge. It's not easy to do. I said before at the outset, you know, there was probably an easier route for us to take. Not that it would have guaranteed us any better results, but, you know, if we played more conservative and were less open and less aggressive in our approach, then maybe we wouldn't have lost, you know, the last game by you know, such a margin. But any other games, you know, again, we weren't blown away by anyone, and I think they took comfort from that and belief from that, and I think for the most part they want to see how far they can get, you know. So why not test yourself? Like I said, yeah, we're 5-0 down, but we're still trying to score goals, and which left us vulnerable at the other end. But you know, we ended up getting the goal through Jota, was great reward for the group's effort, and a bit of luck could have had 1 or 2 more.
Have you always had that buy-in from players when you're going into the new club and you know, changing the style of play? You know, you obviously need them to come with you, but has it always been like this? Are there some people maybe who don't come with you?
Yeah, look, I think that's the most important part, because, you know, I said from the outset, there's no point, whatever football philosophy I have, vision I have, ultimately people believe in people. They don't believe in ideas. You can have the greatest idea in the world, but if people don't believe in you, they ain't going to follow it, you know. So, you know, wherever I've been, I've tried to make that the cornerstone of my coaching, is that I need not just the players, the staff, the football club itself, the supporters, you know, get them to believe in me as a person, that what I'm saying is genuine. It's not just me putting throwaway lines out there, and it's the only way you can sort of accomplish what we're trying to do, is for people to have total buy-in, and it's not always that way. Yeah, there are always players or staff members or people who, you know, don't fit in that, and I've never worried about that, because it kind of stands out in the environment I have. And if people, you know, it doesn't fit, that's fine, you know. I mean, there's other ways of doing things, and I think there's plenty of times along the way that, you know, people have left, whether it's players or staff, because they just didn't like or didn't fit, you know, what I was doing or what I had sort of as a vision. So that's fine, but, you know, for me, it's the cornerstone of what we're trying to do, is that if people don't trust me and believe in me, then even the best ideas in the world wouldn't get done.
Just ask the team music, Cameron.
Yeah. Well, I was an AGM, mate, so the chairman's fit, CEO's firing on all cylinders. No, the boys trained and everyone's good. Cam got through training, so he's available for tomorrow, which is good. And with the rest, you know, obviously the other night would have taken a fair bit out of them. They all trained though, so I'll make obviously a couple of changes to the team tomorrow. But in terms of health-wise, apart from Callum, everyone else is good to go.
Just on the AGM, good to hear from the fans up close and personal and hear their thoughts on the AGM.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, every time I've had sort of interactions with the fans, it's been positive. I enjoy AGMs because, as I tell the board and management, I have an AGM every weekend, mate. The shareholders give me their feedback on a weekly basis when the team's playing, so it's good to get them a bit jumpy before it. They were nervous in the sheds before we got out there, so it was nice just to sit back and watch them, and I thought they all handled it very well.